How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Candyman from 2021, continuing that tradition of sequels having the exact same name as the original, but whatever. This is directed by Nia DaCosta and stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. Anyway, I want to begin by saying I'm a big Candyman fan. I'm a huge slasher fan, and towards the end of the 80s slasher boom, they started becoming more and more supernatural. You got Freddy Krueger, you got Chucky, stuff like that. And when they became more supernatural, that allowed Clive Barker to come in. First with Hellraiser, you got Pinhead, the first of Clive Barker's classic slasher characters. Then later in 1992, you would eventually get Candyman. And Candyman was a great character, and I loved his series. You know, the first one, obviously a gold star, grade A classic. If you haven't seen the original 1992 Candyman, go out and watch it right now. This is a great movie. You did have two sequels. The sequels aren't as good as the first one, but they're still fine. Especially Tony Todd. Great character there, and you know, even if the sequels aren't as good, it's always cool to see Tony Todd as the Candyman. But anyway, Candyman got started later, 1992 instead of the 80s, so it was a little behind, but you know, you get all these other slasher franchises having like 10, 12 movies, something like that. You know, I always thought it was kind of sad that Candyman didn't have more. He only had 3 movies, and I thought, you know, okay, he got started later, but he should still have at least 7 movies by now, right? But after Candyman 3, we had a big gap where they just didn't make any more of them, and I was really wanting another Candyman movie, so I was excited when I heard they were going to make a 4th one, and I was really wanting it. And then the trailer came out, and it had me a little nervous. 2 things. First thing, where was Tony Todd? I didn't see Tony Todd's face in the trailer. IMDb said he'd be in the movie, and people were like, oh yeah, he's in there. But why didn't I see him? Now, being from the future and having seen the movie, I can answer this question. Tony Todd is a cameo at the end of the movie. And I loved Tony Todd's performance in the first 3 movies. He was great. He was amazing. And when he finally showed up in this movie, I was like, there he is, there's Candyman, and the movie's over. That was a little disappointing. I mean, it was good that he was actually in it, but I wanted more than just a cameo. I wanted him in the whole movie. We did also get a cameo from Virginia Madsen as an audio recording, and there is one other cameo from the first movie, but that's a pretty big spoiler, so I won't say it. The other thing, when I saw the trailer that had me worried, is we didn't seem to get a clear answer. Is this a sequel? Is this a remake? Is this a reboot? What is going on there? And again, having seen the movie now, I can answer this question. This is a sequel, but it's as close to a reboot as you can get without actually being a reboot. They acknowledge the events of at least the first movie in this movie, but it is primarily concerned with doing its own thing. You see, this is a Candyman movie about a different Candyman. You see, there's this weird thing where they introduce that Candymen are kind of like Doctor Who's. There's been multiple Candymen. Tony Todd was the first. There's been a couple others, and I think the one in this movie is Candyman 5? I'm not 100% sure on the exact number. So yeah, it's kind of this weird thing where it's a Candyman sequel about a different Candyman, which is going to turn some people off. Now, I saw the trailer, I said, where's Tony Todd? Is this a sequel? What's going on? And it had me very worried. Now, this movie isn't as bad as I was worried it might be, but it's not a very good movie either. And when I say that, I do have to say a few things. One, I'm not a comedy teardown channel. I don't like picking apart movies. I believe in fair film analysis, and that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to discuss what works and what doesn't work. But that being said, this does mean covering negatives, and I'll try to do it in a fair manner. But that being said, if you have a difference of opinion, feel free to say what you think in the comment section, but I only ask that you be civil down there. Now anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic idea as to what the movie's about. We open up with our main character. He's an artist. He has a problem, though. He has artist block. He hasn't painted anything significant in about 2 years. Now, he has conversations with his friends and family. He has conversations with his art dealer. And he has decided he wants to do a piece about his neighborhood's history. He has all these talks about gentrification and how the neighborhoods change over the years. So he is going to do a piece about the history of Cabrini Green. He goes into the older parts of town, and that's where he meets the guy from Fear the Walking Dead. Now, the guy from Fear the Walking Dead, when he asks him about history, tells him the story of his Candyman. And his Candyman was this guy who lost his hand. Now, he doesn't have a big scary hook. He has a regular 1970s prosthetic hook. His Candyman used to give out candy to children. He wanted to be nice to people. Well, one day a kid dies from having a razor blade in their candy, so naturally the police are looking for this guy who's known to give out candy. Now, when the guy from Fear the Walking Dead was a kid, he goes to do his laundry and sees the Candyman hiding in the walls of the building. He screams, the police come in, and they kill Candyman. However, a few days later, more kids are killed with razor blades in their candy, and they realize that they killed the wrong guy. So, it's an unjust death by police, and afterwards there's a legend that if you say Candyman 5 times in a mirror, you will summon Candyman and he will kill you. Now, the artist hears that and thinks, okay, this would be a good story. I'm going to go and make this my art piece. So he has a mirror, and if you open the mirror, you look behind it into this dingy room where some of his paintings are displayed. But the mirror has some instructions saying you can summon Candyman by saying his name 5 times, which does prompt some people to do that, and prompts Candyman to come back. So it's this legend that had remained dormant for a long time, now coming back, and he realizes it's all his fault, and that starts to take a mental toll on him. Another thing is when he first went into the old neighborhood, a bee bit his hand, the same hand as Candyman's hook, and that hand starts to not look so good. So I wonder where that's going. So you see this guy in mental stress, Candyman's coming and destroying things. And I guess here we'll get to a few of the specifics. I mentioned earlier, we're dealing with Candyman 5, not Candyman 1. And this Candyman, sadly, isn't as cool. I mean, it'd be hard to be as cool as Tony Todd, right? But this Candyman, he definitely has a few problems. One, when he was killed, the police beat him up really bad, and in turn he can't talk. He makes this gurgling sound like he was in The Grudge, you know? But just think about that for a second. A Candyman that can't talk. Tony Todd was known for waxing so poetically. His voice was one of the best things about him. So I don't really know where this decision to make a Candyman that can't talk, I don't know where this decision came from. It's clearly a bad idea. Another thing too, he can only be seen in mirrors, which is one of those good in theory ideas, but when it actually plays out, it turns into the characters floating around kind of goofily, and if you want to see what's actually happening, you have to kind of find a mirror and stare into the background. The one thing I really did like, though, is he does actually drop candy when he shows up. I thought that was a fun idea. But other than that, this is its own Candyman with his own rules. Tony Todd could be seen in real life, but Candyman 5 can only be seen in mirrors. It's not as good, and he doesn't do the poetry. That's a big thing. But when we talk about scares, this is definitely a lore over scares movie. There's a whole bunch of talk about various different social political things. There's a whole bunch of talk about the Candyman. There's a lot more talk than actually showing the Candyman. That whole rule, show, don't tell? This movie is very much tell, 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 And you show me a scary movie. You show me a slasher. I want to see scary things. I want to see slasher stuff. This movie only has 4 scary Candyman sequences. The first and the last one, they're okay. They're nothing to write home about, but they're fine. 2 and 3 are really where we get into trouble. And bear in mind, 2 and 3, out of only 4, that's half the kills. That's a big problem. The first one, the second scary Candyman sequence, features this scene where the camera zooms out of the building, and in turn you're looking at a tiny little window. It's obscured by distance, and you see this lady get picked up and killed by Candyman. And to be honest, it's a little goofy. My theater actually started laughing when they saw this. It's not a good kill, and the fact that the camera's so far away, if this was one of 8 kills, I could forgive it. But when this is one of only 4 scary scenes, that's a bad deal. So 2 is obscured by distance. The third Candyman scary scene is the girls in the bathroom. You saw this in the trailer. And this is obscured also. It's off camera. Most of the stuff that happens in this scene is blocked by stall doors, and you just don't get to see any of this. There's a little bit where there's a compact mirror lying on the floor, and you can see a little bit in the compact mirror, but overall, this kill, this whole sequence, primarily off camera. Not a good thing. It felt like I was watching a PG-13 movie with how much this was off camera and obscured. And it's not PG-13. The ratings board is very squeamish, so of course it's an R even though it shouldn't be. The bathroom kill, though, really, really bad. Off camera for the most part. It's one of only 4 kill sequences in this movie, or 4 scary Candyman sequences, rather. And one of 4, and it's obscured. So the point is, it's a slasher movie that doesn't slash. 2 of the 4 kills are obscured in some way, and the other 2 of the 4 scary sequences are just okay. And also, it's a scary movie with only 4 scary sequences. That's not good. The movie spends a lot of its time talking, like I said. You'll spend a lot of time with pretentious art people talking about things, be it Candyman or social political issues. And that's really where this movie just gets so much of its runtime. And it's not good. I want to see a slasher movie. I want to see scary stuff. I don't want to see people talking. And that does lead into this next point. This movie talks about social political issues. This movie talks about race. But the thing is, the first movie did that as well, but they were incorporated into the story and they worked in a natural way. This movie features, for the most part, people literally just talking about it. Literally pretentious art people just talking about the issues. Again, the movie rule is show, don't tell, and this is tell, tell, tell. It's just people talking about these issues. At the beginning, at the end, they do weave them into the plot a little bit more, but for the most part, you want to say something about race, and yeah, there's plenty to talk about there, and you could definitely build a movie around it. I mean, Get Out, also from Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele produced this movie. that movie wove those things into the plot in an interesting and creative way, and that was only a few years ago. Like, you could have done it with this movie, and it would be interesting to hear an interesting take on this issue. There is lots to say about this issue still, but it doesn't do it in any creative way. It doesn't seem... It should be woven naturally into the plot, but it's just not, you know, and I don't know. They could have done a lot better with this issue, and they didn't. But that being said, there are a few little Easter eggs that I did appreciate. The art dealer was named Clive after Clive Barker. The main character was named Tony after Tony Todd, I believe. And you do get to see the guy from Fear the Walking Dead was reading a copy of Clive Barker's Weave World. So that was pretty cool. There were some, you know, winks and nods to fans. I just wish they were more substantial. You know, I wish this was more Candyman 1 and less of a reboot. And the idea that there are multiple Candymen are definitely going to turn some people off. And boiling it down to the facts of the matter is, this movie just wasn't scary because it only had 4 scary sequences in a whole movie, and 2 of them were obscured. That's really the big thing. More than anything else, is I want to see a scary movie. I want to be scared the whole time, not just 4 times, you know? And that's the big thing, you know? It's not the worst thing ever, but it definitely needs less talking, more scaring, because that was a huge problem. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day now. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.